We recently did a video on the Remington 870 tactical shotgun. Did some range work with it, talked about what the gun is, how it's useful, etc. And toward the end of that video we mentioned that we had an 870 customized by Vang Comp. So today we're going to talk about the Vang Comp. Welcome to Riders Range, and this is the 870 modified by Vang Comp. Now, the YouTube police won't let me put links to companies that sell or modified guns in the description. So the only thing I can do is tell you to look up Vang Comp and maybe put in Vang Comp shotguns and get the whole story. There is another story behind this, but the Vang Comp story is very interesting, and he's got all about that on his website. But there's a story on how I came to be in possession of this particular Vang Comp. At the beginning of this century, and that makes us sound really, really old, but we're going back to about 2002 or so. My daughter was stationed out in California. My wife and I would go out there a couple times a year, and we'd fly into the Santa Barbara airport, and the Santa Barbara airport just happens to be surrounded by a town called Goleta. And before one of our trips, I remember reading in a magazine about the Vang Comp shotgun, and said it was in Goleta, California. So we got off the plane one day, and just for kicks I called the Vang Comp shop, and lo and behold, I ended up talking to Hans Vang himself. His shop was literally around the corner from the airport, so he invited us over. My wife and I stopped in, we toured the shop, we looked at the things that he can do to a shotgun, ended up striking a deal on what I wanted, and I called my FFL and said send out a copy of the license, and Hans Vang took my wife and myself to lunch, and we wrote him a check, and a few weeks later I had this gun at my FFL here back home, and picked it up, and it's been a good companion ever since. So what is different about Vang Comp? Apparently, he was originally contacted, back somewhere in the 90s, by a police department that wanted to tighten up the shot pattern on their shotguns without adding chokes. So he ended up lengthening the forcing cone, back boring the barrel. Those tightened up the pattern without actually adding a choke, and we're going to demonstrate that here on the range shortly. Did a couple of other things, and you can move in a little closer so you can see them. You can see the holes in the barrel. These are I haven't counted them, but he says there's 62 holes in the barrel, 31 on each side. They're specifically designed to provide a reduction in muzzle flip. It does if you hold the shotgun right. I don't always hold it right because I'm not a big shotgun guy. So backboard barrel, what's called a jug choke, and the porting do make this a useful shotgun. Some other things about this particular one, though, that I like: it's got a nice high post front sight, and a little different than the 870 Tactical that had a post with a white bead on it. This is just a plain black post, works out very well. And where the 870 Tactical had a ghost ring sight on a Picatinny rail, but it does have a ghost ring sight that is in fact protected by wings, so that the likelihood of actually getting the sight itself bumped and knocked out of alignment is pretty slim. And this sight is adjustable for windage and for elevation. And this ghost ring sight really helps hone in the shotgun, and it's natural to bring it up to the eye level and look through that circle, which actually does help for those who have astigmatism. So this is built on an 870 Express. I have to mention this stock is not standard. I asked specifically for the stock by Choate machine, and that's not something that Hans Vang did standard, so he specifically added this at my request. Most of his shotguns have the traditional profile or a Magpul type stock on it, but in shooting this, I'm almost tempted to go back to a conventional stock instead of the pistol grip, and they're just the reasons of ergonomics and how I hold the shotgun can make a difference. Let's see some other things. The high button safety on this makes it real easy to deactivate the safety with just the side of the finger. A lot easier to get to than the safety on the regular 870. You can't really see it in there. There is a green follower. That was a polymer follower that he was using back in the early part of this century. He's now using a stainless steel one that is actually designed to provide less drag, and actually is sort of self-cleaning inside the tube magazine. As long as we're talking about the magazine itself, this particular one only holds 5 rounds, whereas the 870 Tactical held 6. I'm sure that by now you can get an extension that'll hold an additional round on this to make it 6. 18-inch barrel. I added sling to it, and handy sling for carrying, and also brings it right up to a shooting sling. So this was handy to carry on the job for a while. And when I got this, I was driving a desk more than I was driving a patrol car, but I had my own car, plain unmarked car that was take home, so this gun lived in that car for about, for most of 10 years, except when on weekends and when I knew I wasn't going out anywhere. So let's see, what else about this particular shotgun? Pretty much covers it. They do offer Magpul furniture now. They've changed the design just a little bit. You can get it with a whole bunch of different options. This, out the door back in 2002, the price of the shotgun and the Vang Comp modifications was knocking on the door of $1,000. I want to say I paid 900 and something for it. Now the modifications alone may cost you closer to that, but this worked out well. Now we're going to take this out to the range, and we already shot the 870 Tactical with a bunch of different chokes. We're going to take this out to the range and shoot the same basic type of ammunition at the same distances, and we'll put the targets side by side and see just how this compares to some of the chokes for the Remington 870. So we're going to head outside shortly, and then we'll come back in and we'll wrap this video up. Remington 870 Vang Comp modifications. Remington 870 combat modified by Vang Comp. We're going to see how it works at 15 yards. First thing is going to be 2 rounds of double aught, followed by 2 rounds of number 7.5 target. We're going to try the shorties in here, and they didn't eject real well out of the 870 Express Tactical. Let's see how they do out of the Vang Comp, if at all. We're going to try 5 of them here at 15 yards. All right, let's work out of the Vang Comp. All right, let's take this down to 50. Vang Comp 870, shooting 1-ounce slugs, 50 yards. Let's see if it'll hit the silhouette and the 12-inch. I'm not going to shoot a couple of the other plates. They're a little thinner than I like for shotgun. Silhouette first. I'd say it moves the silhouette. Let's try the 12. Let them stop swinging, we'll try it again. Silhouette first. Well, if it's slowed down enough, let's try that again. Almost rolled it over. One more time on the silhouette. All right, let's try this one last time on the plates and see how it works, if I don't destroy my plate rack with it. 870, modified by Vang Comp. Spread on the plates at 12 yards with number 7.5 target loads. we go. Definitely a good partner to have along in the squad car or even for home defense. Remington 870 modified by Vang Comp. All right, back inside. Just a quick range trip out there shooting double aught and 7.5 shot at 15 yards, just to see what kind of pattern spread we get. We also shot the slugs out at 50 yards. We shot the mini shells, and the little mini shells actually worked out better in this than they did in the 870. They ejected better out of this. And we also ran the plates once with this. So we'll put some of those side by side. And if you look at the differences in the shot pattern between the 870 Tactical and the Vang Comp, you'll see that the Vang Comp, that'll be the target showing up on the left, compared to the cylinder bore with the breacher choke really on the 870, the target there on the right, the Vang Comp was definitely a tighter pattern without having any choke. Then we put it side by side with the light modified choke out of the 870, and that is about the same tightness of pattern that we got out of Vang Comp. So by the internal modifications, the lengthening the forcing cone and backboring the barrel, so it tightened up the pattern of the 870 as compared to the 870 Tactical by Remington. So all in all, Vang Comp shotgun, worth the money? Yeah, I think so. This is a really nice way to modify an 870, and again, I think that I would probably next time around go with a more conventional stock just because of the way it shoulders, but like the way it shoots, like the porting of the barrel, and somebody younger holding it tighter would get less recoil out of this. It really makes it feel more like a 20 gauge than it does a 12 gauge, just because of that porting and the internal modifications to it. So 870 Vang Comp on Riders Range. If you like these videos, we certainly appreciate a thumbs up. And please share these videos. We're still trying to grow the channel, coming up on our 1-year anniversary. We'd like to hit 2,000 subscribers by our 1 year. That means subscribe, click on the notifications bell so you get notified of what's coming up. And comment on this video below. Comment on any other videos, anything else you'd like to see at info@ridersrange.com. More information at www.ridersrange.com. Remington 870 Vang Comp with a little story behind it. And thanks for visiting Riders Range.